From the Millennium Falcon, it's the IGN Digigods. Please welcome two men who know that's no moon, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
So, Oscar predictions as we're moving closer to that ominous day.
It's like 12 Years a Slave.
It's I think it's that's what my gut tells me, but I don't feel like I can even make a prediction. Like I could change any day.
Well, because it's either the guilt vote or the you're not going to guilt me into voting for 12 Years a Slave, non-guilt vote.
Let me give you another option. I think there are people. I think you have the conscience vote, and these are not by any means mutually exclusive demographic segments of the Academy. They're overlapping. So I think a lot of people are going to find themselves sort of internally torn and decide which way they want to sway. But you've got very large conscience vote, which I think typically would go to 12 Years a Slave. And then you have the very large classic movie, the older skewing Academy member vote, which would typically go to something like Gravity, which is, like a big movie, right? And then you have the sort of more 70s sensibility, the film bratty people, we like things that are groovy and irreverent and cool and funky and F you. That's the American Hustle vote. And I honestly, I kind of feel like that those three films are sitting there in the mix. The Writers Guild didn't do us any favors. They gave their awards to Captain Phillips and Her. That doesn't help. That doesn't help me figure anything out.
Sure.
And the 12 Years a Slave was the SAG winner, right? And then American Hustle was the
Golden Globe.
Golden Globe, and then
12 Years.
American Hustle won
was SAG.
Was SAG, and then 12 Years a Slave and Gravity tied for the producers.
That's right.
And now I'm all screwed up. And Gravity, of course, got Cuarón is going to get Best Director, guaranteed. There's no two ways about that. That's guaranteed. That's a lock. Whether Gravity gets Best Picture, I think is much bigger question. But
that is
anyway.
true. As long as it's not American Hustle.
See, I'm okay with American Hustle getting it. I am.
Really?
I'm kind of okay with Gravity getting it, even though I don't think it deserves it. I mean, there's no film that I actively hate this year. 12 Years a Slave, I feel like deserves it, but I don't feel like there's a film that really hugely deserves it. There's no Last Emperor this year. There's no Gandhi this year.
Big epic.
There's no sort of, that's the movie.
I mean, Gravity would be a technical epic.
Yeah, but it's
not really a story epic.
As long as Emmanuel gets cinematography, which he will, finally, right? Yeah, can you believe Deakins still hasn't won an Oscar?
Blah.
Isn't that weird?
He will.
Someday.
Yep.
But
and
Emmanuel,
it would be for something he doesn't deserve it for, like Scorsese wins it for The Departed.
Yeah. Anyway.
Or Pacino wins it for A Sin of a Woman.
Good grief. Mark, let's dive right into new movies.
New movies, but this is Darkman.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Darkman, Wade.
Isn't Darkman a new movie?
No, it's a new Blu-ray, but it's an old movie.
Oh, of course it is.
This is with Liam Neeson, who has since become the
Liam Neeson's? Liam Neeson's?
Yes.
Did you finally watch that?
No, I did not.
Oh, gosh.
He has become the surprise action hero of the century. Who knew that Liam Neeson, pretty moderately august actor, would star in Taken and Taken 2 and Nonstop and all these other films. Who knew? Liam Neeson. This is how he's getting over the tragic death of his wife, I guess, by diving into these movies where he gets to save people. He may be working that out that way. But anyway, Darkman is the Sam Raimi film, and it's pretty good. It's not a bad film. It's with Liam Neeson, Frances McDormand, who of course won an Oscar for Fargo. It's hard to remember she was even in this movie. But anyway, Neeson plays this doctor who is about to create this synthetic skin when he's blown up and he's burned beyond recognition, and he becomes Darkman.
Oh boy.
And it's Sam Raimi, so you're getting, this is pre-Spider-Man Sam Raimi, so you're getting something a little bit B-movie, a little bit silly.
I originally saw this at a midnight show with a bunch of friends.
You have friends?
And I swear we just laughed ourselves delirious. It was not at all what we expected, but we just really, really died. And Larry Drake at the time, was on L.A. Law, right? He was playing, was it Lenny, the mentally handicapped guy on L.A. Law? And he's a villain here, of course. honestly, we just laughed ourselves. We had no idea this movie was going to be as funny as it was.
Yeah.
It was just so funny. And the whole elephant sequence, oh my gosh, with the stuffed elephant, it's freaking brilliant. This is a fun movie. It's a really fun movie. It's totally off the wall, but it's a really fun movie. I'm glad they did this. It's good. Good for you. Good for you, Shout Factory and Scream Factory. Good for you. As long as we're talking about new movies, Criterion has a couple of new movies that are just fantastic. One of them is from this guy named Alfred Hitchcock. Good up-and-coming director.
You know what?
Can't wait to see what other stuff he has. A couple of really great Criterion Blu-ray DVD combo sets, as they are doing all of their stuff now. They're dual format editions. This is Alfred Hitchcock's Foreign Correspondent, which comes from his transition year, which was 1940, and that's the same.
That was the UK versus the American.
Correct.
Versions of Hitchcock.
Correct. That's the year that he was. He made all these kinds of sort of wartime spy thrillers in the UK mostly, and 1940 is when he transitioned to Hollywood, and he made two big American movies that year. One was Rebecca, which won Best Picture, of course, with Olivier and Joan Fontaine, and then he also made Foreign Correspondent, which was also, the same year, nominated for Best Picture. One of those rare feats, where you have one director, like Soderbergh, who gets two films nominated for Best Picture in a single year. And, of course, back then there were 10 films nominated, so it was similar to now, a little bit easier. But Foreign Correspondent is pretty great. It is closer to all of his European, his British stuff. It's an espionage film. It's a thriller. Rebecca's not really a thriller. Rebecca's much more of a Selznick film, a job for hire, than anything else. But pretty great, actually, and it's really nicely done. It's got some you could tell they handed him a big budget, and he's able to do more with the budget. All the stuff that he was doing for just on a shoestring in the UK, suddenly he can do, with an American budget, and here is Hitchcock unleashed. So it's always interesting to compare this to Rebecca. One's a job for hire, one is a quintessential Hitchcock film, much more control over the material. And a really good performance from Joel McCrea. So, definitely worth checking out. Lots of great special features on this, including vintage newsreel stuff and a brand new featurette on the special effects, which were legendary at the time. And there's even Hitchcock interviewed by Dick Cavett in 1972. How cool is that?
That is cool.
Love Dick Cavett.
Yep. Good
Dick
stuff.
Cavett is one of the best TV interviewers ever.
That's right, and he's the first person to tell you that.
Absolutely, He awesome. And then the fantastic Mr. Fox finally comes out.
I love this movie.
Everybody knew was going to be released, because everything that Wes Anderson does eventually comes out on Criterion, because he loved his Criterion, and he always insists that his films get a Criterion release. So yes, initially this thing was released by Fox, and then, as per contract, Fox finally said, okay, now that, this initial grace period has expired, we'll let you go do your stupid special edition on Criterion, at which point all of Wes Anderson's fans jump all over it. I'm not a fan of this movie.
I love this movie.
But you know what? I love the Criterion of this movie, because the extras are fantastic. And it really, I almost feel guilty for not liking it more. I'm like, I really should like this. This is a better movie than I was willing to give it credit for.
Wes Anderson, he's got this to me, he's got this mid-career high going on.
Dude,
Moonrise Kingdom is just magic to me.
People love Budapest Hotel.
Yeah.
People are loving it now. The reviews coming out of Berlin are just phenomenal. I could have seen it last Monday.
What?
I could have seen it last Monday.
Why didn't you?
I just putting the baby to sleep.
Who invited you to that?
Fox.
Was that a screening, or was it a Wade Major?
It was an afternoon screening. It was a 2 p.m. screening, so you wouldn't have been able to make it.
Yeah, but I wanted, but I still want the email.
I'll forward it to you.
Well, it's too late now.
There's going to be more. There's going to be more coming
course.
up. But that was like the pre-Berlin screening, right?
Right.
They were letting people that they actually respect see a little bit advance peek at night.
What are you trying
I'm
to say?
sorry.
I love Mr. Fox. I love Moonrise Kingdom. Go buy it right now.
Budapest Hotel looks so fantastic, doesn't it?
Yep.
Looks so awesome. Looks so
Fox,
awesome.
buy it. Love it.
Loving it. And let's see, there's a bunch of crap here. Not really any old classic movies per se, but some new movie, just dreadful junk. Hellbenders 3D. Clifton Collins Jr. is a really, really talented actor who just never gets any great breaks. He occasionally shows up in a good movie.
He's like a weird, he's almost like an Hispanic Sam Rockwell.
Yeah, but you know what? He's so talented.
He
doesn't even have to do Hispanic roles. It's just everything he does.
I saw him at the Farmer's Market about a month ago.
He's really, really good, and I wish he'd do good work. He's in this thing with Clancy Brown, who once actually had a career in the 80s. And Hellbenders 3D it ain't terrible, but it's also not good. It's a dumb kind of supernatural horror film about a group of guys who are basically like they're like the Avengers of exorcism, who have to try to send this demon back to hell before he destroys the planet. And it's shot in New York. It just, I don't know. It's like it wants to be Avengers, but it's not. It wants to be Ghostbusters, but it's not. It's not very funny. It's not very exciting. It's not very scary. It just kind of lays there, and it's really unfortunate. But Clifton Collins Jr. is really, really good. I don't know why it's 3D. To save my life, I have no idea why it's in 3D.
Wade, Fists of Legend, terrible movie, and I'm not into it because it's about mixed martial arts. I don't get mixed martial arts, and this one is total cheeseball. It's about these 3 friends from high school who reunite 25 years later to fight on a television show
of course
called
they do.
The Greatest Fight Show on Earth. That's just so clever.
Oh, yes.
So Fists of Legend is all about these high school kids coming together 25 years later.
Yeah.
And it's terrible. There you go. Another movie that's terrible called Mortal Enemies, billed as Brothers by Blood, Enemies for Life. It's about these 2 orphans who are adopted. They're separated by one is adopted by a wealthy couple, the other is not. And they reunite to do all sorts of crazy stuff together. I skimmed through this thing because it was just too stupid.
All right.
Mortal Enemies. There you go. Just
Beautiful.
Too stupid. I skimmed through it because it was just too stupid.
Anytime Dolph Lundgren is in a movie, that's a reason to see that movie.
It's the best.
Yep. Basically, Battle of the Damned, which is out on DVD and on Blu-ray, with a lovely lenticular packaging on the DVD, I might add.
Thank God.
It's basically Dolph Lundgren fighting zombies.
Yeah.
That's it.
Awesome.
There is nothing else to this movie.
You don't need anything else.
That's it. It is basically like, they quarantine a city and Dolph Lundgren goes in and blows up zombies. And that's the movie, folks. That is it. If I have to explain any more of that plot to you, you're stupid. And is it entertaining? Yeah, I guess. It's Dolph Lundgren shooting zombies. I mean, it's for me, it was good for about 20 minutes. It was about 20 minutes. You fast forward through the what are we going to do? And then you just go to some blowing up and blood and guts and screaming, and it's okay. It's good for about 20 minutes of that.
Zombies.
Yeah, good for about 20 minutes of zombies. And Jill Soloway is a filmmaker I have somewhat mixed feelings about, but. Better than average is Afternoon Delight, which is... here's the thing. I wish a lot of these indie female directors would stop trying to... It's like they're trying so hard to make movies that are like, almost like we're going to make an indie version of a Lifetime movie. And they're marginalizing themselves, like, I'm going to make a women's picture. It's like, you don't need to make a big action movie, but you don't need to go the opposite extreme. Just make a normal movie. Don't make movies that are all kind of about,
But some of that stuff is very Sundancey.
It is very Sundancey, but it's what they think will get money. It's like there's this mindset, and it's partly true, but it's not entirely true, which is that investors don't really want to invest in women filmmakers unless they think, well, you're making a women's picture. And it's crazy. So, anyway, that said... I find there are certain kind of observations in Afternoon Delight, which is all about, marriage and sex and men and dating and all the usual things that a lot of these are about, all centered around this woman who, played by Catherine Hahn, who was in We're the Millers and a few other movies. And she just has a really dull life, and she's just trying to find, what it is that she needs to sort of make her life exciting again, and reinvigorate her marriage and all this stuff. It just kind of feels like it goes through the motions, and I think she's very good in it. Juno Temple should be better in it, but other than that, I don't know. It just it's worth watching, I guess, but I don't know. I wanted a better movie. It's a DVD Blu-ray combo. Good job, Wade.
Zaytown.
Zaytoon.
Oh, it's funny because they say it in the movie, but I still pronounce it wrong. It's with Stephen Dorff, who I thought maybe was going to go for a career resurgence after the Coppola film.
I know, right?
It didn't happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, here he plays it takes place in '82 during the Lebanese Civil War. He's an Israeli pilot, gets shot down over Beirut, taken prisoner. And, this is one of those kind of like...
This is the Aaron Reckless film, isn't it?
Huh?
Is it the Aaron Reckless film?
Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah.
But...
That got no release.
Well, no, because it didn't deserve one. Because it's, first of all, I can't take Stephen Dorff all that seriously in this sort of a film.
Yeah.
There's something a little hip and self-knowing about him that I can't see him in like a straight drama like that. And the thing with this movie is that it's kind of melodramatic. It's like this very kind of soap opera-y plea for tolerance, kind of a facile message, but going for the heartstrings. But look, if you are into that subject matter, the Lebanese Civil War and Israel's part in it, then you might kind of go for this. But I just thought it was too melodramatic for my taste.
Oh, man.
And
real quickly for some genre fans, we have a movie here called Balls to the Wall, which I thought, really, this looks like just straight-to-video crap. This looks horrible. This is like male strippers and all this nonsense. What is this? This is just some stupid, dreadful movie. Oh, gosh, look, this is horrible. There's like, a lot of lame actors in this who, Christopher McDonald, who haven't done anything in ages, and they're just trying to resurrect their careers. This isn't worth watching. And I was like, oh, my gosh. This is directed by Penelope Spheris.
Oh,
Are you kidding me?
It's over.
And I thought, oh, that is so freaking sad. Is this what her career has come to? She's making these movies now, and so I threw it in. It's a pretty dumb comedy. It really is. It's all about a guy who wants to marry his fiancée. And she wants this super expensive wedding, which Christopher McDonald, playing her father, is going to pay for. And then there's like it just kind of, oh my gosh, it just devolves into this weird kind of full Monty plot that that makes no sense. It's really not very good. But what's interesting is on the heels of this, as I'm doing a little bit of research, got an email from Eric Altieri, longtime listener, who asked when we can expect to see the Penelope Spheris documentaries,
Decline of Western
Civilization 1, 2, and 3, come out on Blu-ray and DVD, because they've never been out. And that is a great question. And the answer to that, as long as we're on the Penelope Spheris thing, is this. She bought the rights to those films back in 2005 and has been spending her own money, she and her producers and partners, consistently ever since, trying to sort out the rights to the songs, because it's the China Beach thing, it's the Wonder Years thing, it's all these shows. It's the same problem, right, as all those TV shows, is that there are all these songs and there are the rights, were never accorded for home video or for DVD or Blu-ray or whatever the case. And so you have to sort out all these contractual issues, and it's like a nightmare, because anyone who's seen those films knows how many songs there are, and some of those bands, good luck finding them. And originally they had announced that they were going to do a DVD and Blu-ray release a year ago. So here we are 12 months later, and we still haven't seen it. The good news is, clearly she's still interested in doing it. She's been at it long enough. It's coming, it's 9 years now that she's been trying to get this happening. So I suspect that sometime within the next 2 years, they will probably get that sorted out. So, keep your fingers crossed that it will still happen. But anyway, I hope it happens, because otherwise she's going to keep making crap like this. And it's just not good.
Speaking of China Beach, by the way.
Yes. Yes, they're releasing the individual seasons now. So, yes, we've got one if we manage to get to it this week. And then lastly, a horror film, The Invoking. This is the new thing. You find a word, a gerund, meaning a word that ends in ing, and you put the in front of it, and it makes it an automatic horror film.
The Christening.
The Invoking.
The Invoking. I think that's really going into the thesaurus a little bit too deep.
Yeah, it is. The Faschinctering.
What?
The Unbludgeoning.
The Disenbludgeoning.
The Disemboweling.
Keep going, Wade. You're looking at me as if I'm going to come up with the next one.
No, we're done.
Not doing it.
We're done. Anyway, this is just dreadful. It's another one of these deals about some horrible thing that happened in the past, and the ghosts are lingering, and they're going to inflict their malice on the present day. This stuff gets really, really tiresome. I guess it's competently done for some threadbare budget. Jeremy Berg, who produced and directed it and wrote it with John Portanova. These guys apparently are one of these up-and-coming teams. I guess they'll probably be making bigger and better films at some point. They certainly didn't bungle this entirely, and their commentary is very competent. But I don't see any reason to really go out of your way to see this. And then, Mark, few Black History Month titles.
Blistery Month?
Yes, Blistery Month.
Didn't we do Blistery Month 2 weeks ago?
We did, but there are all these great new titles that I think are worth bringing up. And why don't you share some of the fine titles with the folks? I'll start off with The Best Man Holiday, which inexplicably became this gigantic hit over the holidays. I certainly didn't see it coming. I guess I probably should have, but like years and years and years after the Best Man, the original film, Malcolm D. Lee decides to come up with a sequel that's holiday themed, and a lot of people are like, really? I didn't realize Morris Chestnut was still making movies. Didn't he make all these kind of dumb romantic comedies a million years ago? And man, I'll tell you, this thing just hit a nerve. It wasn't, and it was a crossover. It wasn't just black people. It wasn't just inner city audiences going to see the movie. It was a lot of white people too. So bravo to Malcolm D. Lee, because he nailed it with this one. And the movie's fine. I don't, it's not brilliant, but it's perfectly fine if you love these characters. I didn't particularly like them the first time around. I guess they're okay. I like the actors. I think Taye Diggs is great. Has never really had the career that he deserved. And Regina Hall and Neil Long, I'm a huge fan of. So a lot of good people in this movie. And Terrence Howard, shows up, and you realize he deserved a better career too. But anyway, there it is. That's The Best Man Holiday, Blu-ray, DVD, and ultraviolet digital copy.
Laughing to the Bank is an unfunny comedy that is written, produced, and directed by Brian Hooks. It stars Brian along with Vashon Nutt, Courtney Hicks, and Roy Hooks. Brian plays a actor who is he's kind of like a B-list actor, trying to become a star. He decides to put on his own TV show when the network shoots it down, and it's all about him taking his one shot at the big time. So there's a lot of opportunities for sketchy sort of goofs, and maybe some of that stuff hits a little bit, most of it kind of doesn't, but it's just not. It's a little bit cliched, a little bit on the nose. It's not all that clever. It really traffics in a lot of the African American cliches that I just think are insulting to that audience.
Yeah.
If you ask me.
No, you're
right. But so I would pass on Laughing to the Bank. We also have Baggage Claim. Now, Baggage Claim has a really good cast. Includes Paula Patton, who I just think I love Paula Patton. Will Paula Patton marry me? Isn't Paula Patton already married to?
Yes, she is.
She's married that guy who worked with Miley Cyrus. Right? His name is the singer.
The Alan Thicke's son, Robin Thicke.
Yes, Robin Thicke.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, maybe Paula Patton can marry me instead.
There you go.
Anyway, Paula Patton, Derek Luke, Taye Diggs, Jaimin Hunsu.
Love him.
He's carving out a career for himself.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a pretty good comedy. It's okay. She plays a flight attendant, and she's tired of being single, and so she wants to get engaged before her younger sister's wedding. So she's only got a month to find the right man. Will she? Oh, what do you think the answer is? Anyway, I wouldn't call this laugh out loud, but it's kind of cute. It means well. It doesn't traffic in the same cliches as Laughing to the Bank does. So I would definitely give Baggage Claim a rental if you're into that kind of thing. On the other side of the dramatic coin, we have Life of a King. This is with Cuba Gooding Jr., and it's a true story. Plays this guy whose mission is to help the inner city youth of Washington, D.C. And so this guy, Eugene Brown, who's played by Cuba Gooding Jr., the guy was in jail for 20 years. When he gets out, he establishes a chess club that helps inner city kids in D.C. So it's a great story.
That's great.
And God knows Cuba Gooding Jr. is trying to get his career back on track. I mean, he was in The Butler, which, of course, didn't really do much for him because The Butler was kind of forgotten.
He's the only thing that was decent in it. He really was.
Yeah, I also like the one who played the son who went militant.
Oh, he's great.
I liked him.
He's a British actor. He's British.
Is he British?
Yeah, he's British.
He's playing Martin Luther King.
Oh, he is, isn't he? In Memphis?
Star Wars. Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's Memphis.
Wow.
Directed by the same guy. Isn't directed by the Butler guy, Lee Daniels?
No, Lee Daniels. No. It's no.
Oh,
No, no. Well, no.
I do not want Lee Daniels to direct a Martin Luther King story. I do not want that to happen.
No. Lee Daniels? No,
Oliver
Stone was going to do.
Oh, that's even worse. Anyway, Life of a King. Cuba Gooding Jr. not bad in it. It's also with Dennis Haysbert. It's fine.
Because I thought Paul Greengrass was going to do it with Forrest Whitaker at one point.
Ooh, interesting.
And then that fell apart, and then Paul Greengrass dropped out, and then I think Oliver Stone was going to do it. And then the King he wanted to do something a little grittier, and the King family was not on board. And well, that's interesting. Okay, I will have to research. Anyway,
next comes the marginal comedy, and then there was You with Garcelle Bouvet, Brian White, Lynn Whitfield, and Greg Vaughn. Oh, it's about this woman whose marriage falls apart when he finds out that her husband is leading a secret life, and so she's got to restart her life, hopefully finds a new love. And there you go. This thing, it's a very standard romantic comedy. Nothing really surprising in it. Basically, it's one of those films where if this starred a predominantly white cast, it would never get made. Which is insulting to the African-American audiences, because it's like, oh, this isn't very good. We'll give it a black cast. We'll get it made.
Is he doing the Ava DuVernay film? Because she's directing a Martin Luther King biopic as well,
right?
But that one's kind of in the early stages. That's the one that nobody really knows anything about.
Don't know. All I know is that in E's red carpet coverage of the Golden Globes,
yes,
that kid came up to be interviewed by E with Lee Daniels and Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah,
they were all interviewed together by E's reporter, correspondent, red carpet person.
Yeah,
and Lee Daniels said, "And this guy's going to play Martin Luther King."
Interesting.
And he confirmed it.
Wow. Well, and the reason that we keep saying that kid is because his name is extremely difficult to pronounce.
Well, no, it's just difficult for me to pronounce.
David Oyelowo.
Well, at our LAFCA voting,
yes,
because I really liked him in that movie, and I thought the kid's got a lot of potential. I threw him a point. I threw him a point in our LAFCA voting, and so I was trying to practice his name before it came around to me to vote because I knew I'd screw it up. And I thought I had it, but then I got performance anxiety, and I screwed it up anyway.
By the way, that kid is 37 years old.
Okay,
I'm just want to.
I don't know why I keep calling him that kid.
It's because you're 59. He's a kid. Exactly. All right, and then lastly, a couple of really terrific documentaries. I got to say, this is great stuff. Mike Tyson, Undisputed Truth, from HBO Films, is Spike Lee's directing of Mike Tyson's one-man show, which I didn't even realize he had a Broadway one-man show. I'm kind of scared. And you know what? It's pretty great. I got to be honest. It's pretty great. I am not a Tyson fan. I think he's absolutely insane. I think he's an unhinged animal who should be locked up in a cage. Really out of his mind, especially considering the revelation that he was like on cocaine half the time that he was in the ring now. He's like out there just wired on drugs, bludgeoning people. He's like, what is... Seriously, no wonder people don't care about boxing anymore. We've all turned to, mixed martial arts.
That's like the Doc Ellis story. You know the Doc Ellis story, right?
No.
Doc Ellis was a pitcher for the Houston Astros.
Yeah.
And he once pitched a no-hitter.
Yeah.
And it was later revealed by Doc Ellis himself that he was completely whacked out on LSD. While he...
Really?
Yes. In fact, there's a very funny YouTube video where Doc Ellis tells a story about throwing a no-hitter on LSD.
Yeah.
And it's set to animation.
It's probably like Yellow Submarine type animation.
Yes,
yeah, that's great. I gotta look that up. Anyway, this is really good. And Spike Lee, when he does this, when he kind of backs off and he becomes essentially someone who sort of nurtures a live performance, as he has done many times, it's pretty great. So really, really good. And then the other one is Muhammad Ali's Greatest Fight, which is absolutely outstanding in every conceivable way. This is not a documentary, by the way. This is another HBO presentation, but it was directed by Stephen Frears, and really impressively done. By the way, a lot of people that Frears has worked with before, obviously Christopher Plummer and Frank Langella, do first-rate work here, and it is not at all about Muhammad Ali per se, but it is about the political issue around his opposition to the Vietnam War and for being a conscientious objector. and everything that went on behind the scenes, the machinations of the Supreme Court and all this stuff, it's really, really interesting. I mean, it puts you behind the curtains of history and politics and the government and all that stuff. Really, really interestingly done. So that is terrific. So a couple of great directors here, Spike Lee and Stephen Frears, doing first-rate work for HBO.
Wade, when I say to you the words Red Wedding, what do you think of?
Game of Thrones.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. That's
anyway.
All right, Game of Thrones.
Complete third season. HBO, they do a very good job with their series Blu-rays. I got
to tell you, a friend of ours works on Game of Thrones.
That's not true. You have no friends.
Yeah. A friend of ours works on Game of Thrones in post-production. And what I have been exposed to as to the post-production process of this show is mind-boggling. It is absolutely mind-boggling. These guys run a ship so tight it blows away 99% of feature films. If most movies were run as professionally as Game of Thrones, they would be 30-40% cheaper. The studios would be happy. Actors would be happy. It's unbelievable. This is professional. This is really professional stuff, how the show is run. Can't say that I love the show all that much, but honestly, when you see kind of the gears behind the scenes of how this thing is run on 2 different continents and just all of the how information is transmitted digitally here and there and reshoots this and that and the other thing and the scripts and the production, unbelievable, incredible operation.
Lots of featurettes on this, audio commentaries on 12 of the episodes. There's actually a Season 2 recap to pop in there before you watch Season 3, if you don't remember what happened. There's an episode guide. There's all sorts of crazy stuff going on here with Game of Thrones third season. Show's a phenomenon. People love it. Not sure how long this is going to last, though. I can't see 10 seasons of Game of Thrones.
No.
This will probably have to end after 5 seasons or something.
Yeah, but that's what HBO does. They don't overstay their welcomes.
That is true.
They don't.
Good stuff.
Sherlock is now in Season 3, really becoming a phenomenon. It's revisionist Sherlock Holmes, not something that I particularly love, but I really respect the actors in it. I get I get what they're doing. Benedict Cumberbatch is great. Martin Freeman is great. Really good casting. Sensational writing. I don't think you watch this because you're a Sherlock Holmes fan. I think you watch it because it's just a really, really well done British show. So I'm trying to sort of shift gears and really, really get into the vibe. It's certainly, I prefer this obviously to the Robert Downey Jr. Holmes, which I just think got really off. That just went.
That had nothing to do with Sherlock Holmes.
That second film just went so far off the rails with all those slow motion bullets ripping through trees.
Well, that's Guy Ritchie. That's what you're signing up for.
Come on, really, seriously. But anyway, this third season, really pretty great stuff. So be interesting to see how long they can keep this going, since Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman both have bigger careers in the offing. Benedict Cumberbatch, of course, being in everything now, and Martin Freeman being in, all the Hobbit movies. Interesting.
What's not interesting to me is Farscape. I never got into the show. The show's been on forever. This is the complete Season 2 of Farscape on Blu-ray.
Yep.
I just can't get into the whole, there's a living ship, and then there's a villain guy named Scorpius or something, and then there's the Peacekeepers, and there's the reptilian guys. I just don't really get into the show. 22 episodes from the second season, 4 hours of featurettes. There's also 5 audio commentaries, a director's cut for 8 of the episodes. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not into it. Farscape, Wade, don't get it.
Okay.
I admit it.
Farscape I kind of appreciate a little bit because there was a whole big Save Farscape campaign at one point, which I was educated by the Jim Henson, Creature House people who were trying to save the show when I saw their big Save the Show display when I went to the Galacticon, the Battlestar Galactica convention some years ago.
Nerd.
And, where I saw this 4'8" fat Cylon, very unimpressive. I was like, dude.
Nerd.
But anyway, yeah, I hear you. And speaking of nerds, Star Trek Enterprise Season 3 is really great. And I have to say, Star Trek Enterprise, this is the quintessential Star Trek. If you love Star Trek, Star Trek Enterprise is really the best of all the series. It's the one that Mark likes the most. And always has. You're particularly fond of this, I know.
I liked this show before it even existed. I knew someday it was my dream come true that this show would exist.
It's, whatever. It's not.
It's not a bad idea. You know what it is? The problem is that after a while there were just too many Star Trek shows.
There were all at once, and now there are none. And
now there are none, and there's movies.
And they kind of need to just let it all go away for a while. But that's the thing; they can't let anything breathe anymore.
Well, but here's the thing: I think part of the reason why Into Darkness didn't do as well as they were expecting was because they waited too long between the first one and the second one.
I don't think they did. I just don't think people are that enamored of this particular. The way it's been rebooted. It doesn't feel like Star Trek to me.
Well, the second one confirmed to me that it's going to go in a direction that is just another big techno fight CGI thing. The characters aren't that important.
Well, the problem, and not to go too far afield, the problem is Star Trek has never been hugely popular outside the United States. It is a phenomenon of American nerds. It's a very American sensibility. Gene Roddenberry is revered by Trekkies, but they're all American. Outside of the U.S., the whole Star Trek thing, Gene Roddenberry, Great Bird of the Galaxy, Star Trek conventions, doesn't really fly. And Paramount's like, you know what? All of our money is now overseas. We gotta do something with Star Trek that makes it appealing to Europeans, to Russians, to Chinese. We gotta broaden the appeal of this, so we gotta de-nerdify it. Well, they did that, but in the process, they lost all the American fans. And I don't know.
The show, it also the franchise lost its soul.
It lost its soul, absolutely. And at a certain point, you have to sort of cut your losses and say, you know what? This will never be popular overseas. This is an American thing. So let's just make it at a budget that justifies that. But they can't think that way anymore. Everything has to be a home run. And it's just the poison of studio mindset today. But anyway, so Star Trek Enterprise Season 3 on Blu-ray. It's perfectly serviceable. I have no objections to this. It looks good on Blu-ray. It's all very, very nicely taken care of. And some nice special features, including a 3-part documentary called In a Time of War, which is very, very nicely done, and all newly recorded audio commentaries on certain episodes, which are lovely. And, for fans only, but certainly very well done for them.
Well, it's TV time. The Americans on FX. This is a funky little show. I have to say that I'd be interested in getting more into this in the second season. This is about two KGB spies in 1980s D.C. living amongst us, trying to bring down the government. They're the KGB. Wade.
Yes.
Kerry Russell, KGB agent.
Yes.
This is kind of an interesting little show. I have to say, I was surprised. It seemed like it was one of those mid-level kind of FX shows that wouldn't really go anywhere. Would just be like a middling kind of FX entry. But I kind of like it. It's pretty cool. There's special features include commentary on one of the episodes, a gag reel, some deleted scenes. The Americans on FX, of course, Season 2 coming up soon. Nurse Jackie, Season 5. This show
Nurse Jackie?
Yes.
I love Jackie.
No, she's the worst. She was the worst. This show keeps going, and I just feel like it's kind of like, all right, I'm done already. I get it. She's a crazy nurse, and she takes pills, and blah blah blah. I'm not that enamored of this character that I want to spend the next 10 years learning about her.
Yep.
I mean, the show has won Emmys. It's a show that is quite popular and revered amongst critics in the Academy, but I'm not really that into it. Yeah. Anyway, Nurse Jackie Season 5. There's that. Rob Lowe gives a very pinched performance as Jack Kennedy in Killing Kennedy.
Kind of surprisingly good here, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him try this hard in a long time.
I mean, it's look.
It's based on a book by Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah, and he and Bill O'Reilly have kind of a weird friendship, apparently.
Really? Are they dating? Be honest.
It's like kind of a weird thing. So I think this was O'Reilly throwing him a bone and saying I like you, Lowe. Here be in my books thing.
Jennifer Goodwin, who I saw outside of La Poubelle on Franklin about a year ago.
Yeah,
delicious.
I like her.
Actually, sub-delicious. I mean, very beautiful.
Sub-delicious?
Not like delicious, like
delectable.
Like Mila Kunis is delicious.
Delectable.
Yeah.
Appetizing.
Appetizing.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely appetizing. Jennifer Goodwin, definitely appetizing. I saw her outside La Poubelle on Franklin.
Oh wow. We're gonna get letters from Now.
Yeah, they Now representatives listen to our show every week. Anyway, I guess Wade likes this more than I do. I think it's fine.
It's okay. It's perfectly fine. It's better than I expected it to be. To be honest.
The thing is that now that we're done with the 50th anniversary of the assassination, I feel like I'm sort of
the air is
I'm
all
done
out
now.
Of it.
The air's out of this balloon.
We got a pile of classic television here. I'm going to rip through really quickly because there's not much by way of extras on any of this, and this is just to sort of let you know it's out there. Complete third season of The Courtship of Eddie's Father, which originally was a movie directed by Vincent Minnelli.
I love the show. I loved the show for like 5 minutes when I was a kid.
I did
for 5
too.
minutes, I loved this show.
We all did. And Bill Bixby was lovely on the show, coming off of My Favorite Martian and before segueing into The Incredible Hulk some years later. This is the early 70s, and it feels very 70s. Of course, based on the movie, obviously, by Vincent Minnelli, which was well-received, and then they turned it into a TV show at the time when all these TV shows were, we've talked about this before, tons of television shows kind of addressing the broken family phenomenon in America in the late 60s and early 70s. That includes, not only the Brady Bunch, but Courtship of Eddie's Father, and Ghost and Mrs. Muir, and Family Affair, and the Andy Griffith Show, and on and on and on. There's just tons of shows, even Bonanza. Tons of shows about single parents in the West, single parents now, single parents, who the wife died, they're divorced, they remarry somebody else who's single. It was like single parent bonanza, single parent palooza on television for the longest time.
You know what the Mad Magazine parody of Courtship of Eddie's Father was called?
No.
The Courtship of Eddie's Fat Head.
Well, that's
swear to God. I remember that. I don't know why I remember that. Because for 5 seconds, I loved this show.
I did
when
too.
Mad Magazine spoofed it in like 1970, whatever.
Anyway.
I was into it.
It's interesting. Ann Mira and Jerry Stiller are in this, who are always fun to watch. Because you watch them and you go, that is what spawned Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller was created during one particularly wild night between those two, and I don't want to picture what that night looked like. Laverne and Shirley, the 7th season.
Yay.
Floors me that this show lasted that long. I don't know what has happened to Cindy Williams. I see Penny Marshall sitting at the sidelines of Laker games and Clipper games all the time, but I don't know.
One became a successful director. The other became Cindy Williams.
That's true. But boy, this show was really terrific at the time. It was so funny. Lenny and Squiggy made me laugh on a regular basis, especially when they showed up in Used Cars by Robert Zemeckis.
Yeah.
What a great time that was. But anyway, Laverne and Shirley dates a little bit, but still shockingly holds up. This is the 7th season when the show was really, really running out of steam, and they're still plugging away. The Jimmy Stewart Show, the complete series, because it lasted so long. Jimmy Stewart was not cut out for sitcoms, and especially in the 1970s. And for like barely a season, he did a sitcom in the early 70s, and it's not very good. But there's something kind of strangely novel about it, about watching Jimmy Stewart trying to hold down a TV show in his later years. China Beach, of course, has been out as the complete series and is also out now in individual seasons. They just released season 2, which, frankly, in many respects, might be the best season of the show. Season 2 really, really it's just got so many classic episodes. Absolutely awesome. Featurette here, and then also some great interviews with Mark Helgenberger, Robert Picardo, and Michael Boatman. And I recommend the whole series, but of course, if you just want to buy the individual seasons separately, can't hurt. And then there's Newhart, the complete 2nd season. I was a big fan of Newhart at the time. The show still holds up, still very, very funny. And, of course, Bob Newhart runs a little bed and breakfast in Vermont.
Or do they?
Or do they? And, of course, the town is populated by all kinds of extremely strange and bizarre people.
Or is it? As it turns out. One of the best endings in TV history.
Such a great show. Really a great show. Tom Poston just slays me on this show. And then Gentle Ben, Season 2. Gosh, Clint Howard was a cute kid once upon a time. What happened?
I know.
He just, it's like he and there was a moment when you're like, those Howard brothers, they're both TV stars. They're going to go on to big things. Little Ronnie and Little Clint. Little Ronnie on the Andy Griffith Show and Little Clint playing with the bear and Gentle Ben. And this, by the way, this was another trend at the time. If you remember, there was like Flipper and Gentle Ben and like all these shows about kids and animals. Lassie, everybody jumps on the bus and it's like, oh gosh, what can we do? What animal has not been done? How about a kid and a spider? Will that work?
Raccoon?
Raccoon? Good grief. Anyway, Kid and a Bear. Don't, by the way, kids, it's a TV show. Don't let your children play with grizzlies. It's not a good idea. But then Clint Howard, then they grew up, and Ron grew up and turned into, Richie on Happy Days, and Clint grew up and was like, yee. What happened to him?
There was an article in the Hollywood Reporter about how...
Oh, his genetic disorder?
No, about Rush. And like all the companies that threw money into Rush, including whatever hedge fund, blah, blah, and how that movie totally underperformed in the United States.
Because they didn't put any money into it.
Yeah.
Universal didn't know what to do with it. And they blew the Oscar campaign. Oh,
there was no Oscar campaign.
None. One of the best movies of last year. It's right at the top of my list. It's in my top 3. It's incredible how good that movie is. It is masterful filmmaking. I
was very surprised to learn that because I guess the article in the Hollywood Reporter was all the fact that the movie underperforming split up these partners who were in these hedge funds who helped finance the movie.
Really?
And the failure of the movie has become this big thing for all these companies that had bankrolled the movie.
Really?
But in the end, I was surprised to learn that the movie's only going to lose them $10 million.
It shouldn't lose them any money.
Well, no, but
it's a great movie.
But it wasn't like a $100 million write-down.
It was a $30 million movie. It shouldn't be losing $10 million. A $30 million movie with those stars on that subject around the world should make at least $30 or $40 million. It
made 26 here, and it made about twice that overseas.
It's ridiculous. It's absurd. It should have been so much better than that.
More TV. Timothy Olyphant stars in Justified, based on the Elmore Leonard. Of course, Elmore Leonard died recently, and I've been rereading a bunch of Elmore Leonard, and he's awesome. The great thing about this show is Patton Oswalt, because he's in this, and we love Patton Oswalt and everything he does.
Yes.
So there you go. I would check this out just for Patton Oswalt. 4th season. I'm not really super into the show. The show's obviously gone way beyond whatever Elmore Leonard supplied at the beginning. So now it's up to the showrunners to make it fresh and fabulous. And so here we have season 4. Special features include 10 commentaries, some outtakes, and deleted scenes. And, of course, Patton Oswalt.
I love
because he's awesome. He's the House of Lies from Showtime. I never really got into the show, and I was flipping through this, and I was like, meh, I guess it's okay. It's about this these consultants, and I don't know what you know what, I really should have given this a heavier skim because I just didn't get it. I love Don Cheadle, glad he's getting work. What's her name? Kristen Bell does not deserve to share the screen with him. But
they just had a baby.
Huh?
They just had a baby. Kristen Bell and
Don Cheadle?
No. No. Kristen Bell and Zach, whatever the hell his name is.
Exactly.
Her husband-ish guy. You know,
I can't tell if she's.
His name?
I mean, and not that she's not beautiful, but I can't tell if she's beautiful or not.
Dax Shepard.
She's beautiful, but there's something like not attractive about her. No, like, do you ever look at a beautiful woman and go, I don't know why I don't want to have sex with you because you're beautiful, but I just don't. That's kind of how I feel like Kristen Bell. Anyway, House of Lies. I gave it a skim. I should have tried harder. I just couldn't get into it.
You know, but she and Dax Shepard, they have a child.
And the child's name is Duck Dynasty season 4.
No, they but do you know the name of the child?
Is this something stupid? Imagine that. Steve, Mel, Jimmy, Jack, Joe, Jeff, John, George.
I'll
Duck Dynasty season 4. This, of course, comes on the heels of Phil Robertson, who said a whole bunch of bad things because that's what Southern people do. And so this show is a phenomenon, a complete, absolute phenomenon.
Baby's name is Lincoln.
Okay. Well, I thought it was going to be like Paper Cup or something.
Okay.
Maybe the name is Paper Cup. Paper Cup Shepherd. Anyway, it's the whole Duck Dynasty gang, and if you love them, you'll love this. I think this, to me, reality shows have absolutely no Blu-ray value. Even though there are extended episodes, extended scenes, special features, and whatnot, I just think these shows have no...
I love the pictures of these guys before they went hairy and redneck. You know, they used to be like all conservative looking.
But the thing is that these guys are not stupid.
No, they're not.
I mean, they were pitching a show for years. I mean, they didn't just drop from the sky.
No.
A&E did not like rent some sort of like swamp boat and just find them somewhere. These guys wanted a show.
Yeah, and they grew beards and they created a brand and they did a whole thing.
And I mean, they did an amazing job at it.
Oh yeah, it's like an unbelievable branding effort. It's very smart.
All right, speaking of very smart, I love Angry Birds. Angry Birds, greatest game ever. Not a big fan of Angry Birds Toons. I think that's a little too much. I just want it to be a game. I don't want it to be a cartoon. I don't want it to be a movie.
It's going to be movies now.
A TV series, an album, Christmas special. I don't want any of that. I just want my Angry Birds on my iPhone because I love it. It's awesome. So Angry Birds Toons, not my favorite. Season 1, Volume 1 of the TV show. Now we have 3 animated shows to run down for you. We have The Simpsons, season 16.
My gosh, this show just keeps on trucking.
This is long after I stopped watching it regularly. However, I feel like this show is starting to get back in the groove.
Yeah.
I feel like the humor's getting faster, getting a little more clever. I felt like seasons, including this one, 16, less jokes per minute.
Yeah.
Episodes felt slower.
Yeah.
A little logy.
Yeah.
It was like it was running on fumes.
Yeah.
And in the last couple of seasons, they've kind of picked up the joke factor.
Yeah.
It's been better.
Yeah, it has.
So I'd probably pass on this season.
Because that other show you're going to talk about has been kind of breathing down its neck.
I am in a second. Because first I'll talk about Futurama Volume 8. Now, I am a huge fan of Futurama in clumps. I don't love the whole series, but parts of it, especially the early years, were just terrific. Now, the show's done now.
Yeah.
Finally over. But if you're a completist, you got to get Volume 8. There's actually which I would love to get, which Wade could get for me if Wade loved me, but I know he doesn't, so he's not going to get this for me. But there is a big honkin' full series box set of all the Futurama episodes.
Is there really?
Yes, there is.
I'll work on that.
It's like $200 or something. So if you want to get that,
I'll work on that.
Let them know that the Digigods will fawn over it.
I will work on that.
Like you have never seen
fawning. I'll get on that tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
First thing.
So Futurama Season 8. There you go.
Yeah.
Family Guy. Everyone knows my feelings about Family Guy. I wish these things would come out on Blu-ray, but they just refuse to do that, and it pisses me off. So Family Guy Season 12. Now this includes the 200th episode, and the show is starting to waver, as people have heard me say before. There are some good episodes on this one. The Road to Vegas, I thought was funny. Into Fat Air was funny. I also like the one where Brian and Stewie start aging in reverse.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
There you go.
And some good voices. Johnny Depp does a voice for this season. John Hamm, Sofia Vergara. 22 episodes on 3 discs. Why is it not on Blu-ray? Don't know, don't care. Because I want Family Guy Season 12.
Nice.
Give me this.
You got it. Let's see. Dallas, complete second season. This would not be confused with the previous Dallas, the complete second season. I don't know how they distinguish between the first Dallas and the second Dallas. Dallas, the New Generation. And give it some other... Otherwise, this really should be Dallas, the, 14th season or whatever it would be.
Nobody remembers the other show. Nobody who watches this show remembers the other show. The other show is the one their parents watched.
Well, anyway, the only reason to watch this is it's the last season with Larry Hagman, who is in it very little before he passed away. But there is a tribute to him on this, and the last interviews that he ever gave. And the show isn't bad, actually. I mean, I kind of enjoyed the show. It has the same trashy sensibilities of the previous one. It really does stay faithful to it. And it's got some good featurettes on it, and it maintains continuity with a lot of the same actors, and that's fine. But if really the reason to hang on to this season is because Larry Hagman gets his long overdue tribute in this, and I feel like we haven't given him enough tribute, to be honest. Being Human, both the original BBC production and the American version of it are both out in new seasons. There is season 5 on Blu-ray from BBC. And then there is the third season of the American version, which is seen on Sci-Fi, which is also on Blu-ray. And the British version, considerably better, far better. And the American version, not really very good at all, I have to say. I've never given this show, either version of it, a serious shake. But, comparing the two of them, you kind of go, okay, I understand the vampire werewolf thing has been done to death. Literally to death, but I understand the take that the British have. They kind of have a sort of novel twist on it, and they're sort of trying to at least be a little bit different and do it a little bit intelligently. And the American version it's like a really trashy version of Dark Shadows that doesn't really even understand Dark Shadows. So anyway, that being said, if you're a fan of either of them, those are out. And then Steven Van Zandt, an actor who basically has been doomed to play gangsters his entire life, stars in Lilyhammer. This is the first season on Blu-ray. Lilyhammer is such a peculiar show. It's essentially about a mafioso guy who goes in the witness protection program and is given a new life in the Norwegian town of Lillehammer, which once was home to the Winter Olympics. And it's just a fish out of water thing. It's sort of like if you were to do a cross between The Sopranos and what was the deal in Alaska? What was the show in Alaska?
Northern Exposure?
Northern Exposure, thank you. It's like Northern Exposure with a mobster. It's like, all right, it's very strange, but it's got a charm to it, and it's just different. And I guess if you like Steven Van Zandt, then there's your entree. And Lindsay Lohan, be damned, you were a horrible Elizabeth Taylor, but I got to tell you, Helena Bonham Carter, not bad. In Burton and Taylor, The Love That Would Never Die. BBC production that stars Helena Bonham Carter and Dominic West. And the nice thing here is that they aren't trying to actually do impressions of Burton and Taylor. Although I have to say Dominic West, who is a very good actor and who's not Richard Burton and doesn't look anything like Richard Burton, but there are weird moments in this where I'm like, oh my gosh, I almost thought that was Richard Burton. It's like creepy. It's like he channels him for just a moment in a way that sort of gave me chills.
That's probably what they saw. That's what they saw in him.
I guess. Anyway. And this is a very, very decent production from the BBC, and it's all centered primarily around one particular instance, which is the revival of Private Lives, the Noel Coward play that they were going to do together, and pretty well researched, pretty smart, nicely done, very contained, and I'm going to give that a big thumbs up. And then to, let's see, just wrap out TV really quickly. There's this miniseries on Bonnie and Clyde was such an odd thing. I don't know that anybody saw this. This was basically an A&E production that aired on A&E and History Channel and a few others. Did you watch this, Mark? The Bonnie and Clyde miniseries?
I did not. Didn't care.
Man, it's like it's a great cast, and Bruce Beresford still trying to sort of get his career back on track. And you look at it and you're like, okay, Emile Hirsch, fine. Holiday Granger, I don't know who she is. Holly Hunter, rock on. William Hurt, sure, we love them. They were great in broadcast news. They're still good. But somehow I feel like I'm watching it. I'm like, I'm not learning anything new. I don't even know why I'm watching this. I saw the Warren Beatty movie, Arthur Penn. It rocked. It was great. Faye Dunaway, Gene Hackman. You killed it. That was beautiful.
Gene Wilder.
And Michael J. Pollard. But Miri, they're grups. Give me a break. Come on, give it up for Michael J. Pollard, right? How's that for a reference?
Terrible. You should be ashamed.
Anyone who is not a full blown nerd who's listening to this right now is going to be like, I don't know where that my brain is seizing. He just made a Bonnie and Clyde sideways reference to Star Trek. I don't understand. Michael J. Pollard. He's the linchpin. He links it all together. Anyway, Bonnie and Clyde is a miniseries. Very strange miniseries. Well done, but I just don't get the point. And then from Acorn, Midsomer Murders, set 23. This thing will not go away. And that's okay, because it's really good. Great mysteries, really well written. Just some of the best British television, and it is rock solid. It just, that Midsomer County, man, don't go there. It looks nice, but it's just a scary, scary, terrifying place. And then very interesting new release from Acorn, Series 1 of The Broker's Man, starring Kevin Whately. And this is another really, really good British crime show about an ex-cop who becomes an insurance investigator. And you're like, oh, that doesn't sound very interesting. It is, actually, because it gets into, it's about a guy who now doesn't have to be a cop. He doesn't have to sort of obey all the rules. He can be much more unhinged as an insurance investigator. And the crap that people do to try to defraud insurance companies, you would not believe. Which reminds me, I got to report that accident that I had.
Shh. Wow, consider me intrigued. Whatever you just said. Wait, is this it? Are we done? Am I doing this?
Done? Finish that up, and then we're done. Actually, that and then I'll do these two docs, and then we're done.
All right, Wade. 1976, the Maisleys. I always get
Maisleys.
Why do I always get their name
wrong?
I
don't know.
The Maisley brothers, documentarians extraordinaire, did one of the best efforts called Grey Gardens, which is now out on Criterion. Grey Gardens is about Big and Little Edie Beale. They are mother and daughter. They are recluses. They are cousins of Jackie Onassis, the wife and ex-wife of President Kennedy. And this documentary is really something to see because this mother and daughter, they're cousins of Jackie O. They've dropped out of high society. They live in this disgusting, decaying mansion in East Hampton, New York. And the way they live, it's almost like they are going to live every second of Camelot.
Sweet.
Even as their mansion crumbles around them.
There you go.
They're going to pretend like Camelot is still around. And it's great. It's just a great film. There was a 2006 follow-up called The Beals of Grey Gardens, which is included in the Criterion Blu-ray. So you actually get kind of two films. So your parents will love it. It's a great documentary. It's only 94 minutes. I really hope you'll at least rent Grey Gardens because it's just terrific. And the Maestless brothers are top shelf in terms of documentary filmmakers.
They invented the modern form of documentary practically. So
yes, they did.
Yeah.
And of course, because it's Criterion, there's plenty of good extra features on it. Audio excerpts from a 1976 interview with Little Edie Beale, interviews with the fashion designers behind the film, trailers, photographs, great digital transfer, audio commentary featuring the brothers, and it's great. Grey Gardens, totally, at least please rent it.
You know, if you really want to get up inside movies in a ridiculous, bizarre way, you're going to want to watch The Pervert's Guide to Ideology. Ray Fiennes' sister, Sophie Fiennes, who is a first-rate filmmaker. And I wish she'd do narrative films again because she's really good. But she's been doing a lot of documentaries lately. And The Pervert's Guide to Ideology is all about Slavoj Zizek.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. Who is this bizarre kind of cultural philosopher who will give you all kinds of bizarre insight. He comes at all these different movies in a really, really weird, sideways, upside down, fascinating, insane way. And sometimes it's insane and sometimes it's insightful, which makes the film enormously entertaining, even though it is over 2 hours long. So that is a really interesting kind of novelty you might want to check out, The Pervert's Guide to Ideology. And Little Deaths is a fascinating documentary by Mireia Salares, which is 5 hours long, speaking of long. But what it basically is she wants to talk to a lot of women from cultures where women are typically oppressed about the female orgasm. But it's not just about orgasm. It's basically about female liberation and about the role of women in these societies. And it winds up being
porn.
Exactly.
It's a 5-hour porn.
It winds up being a fascinating dissection of just gender roles and and societal roles and the way that women are treated in different societies. Really interesting movie, but it's 5 hours long.
Porn.
So you really got to set some time aside. And then very lastly, the amazing, brilliant, reclusive late Chris Marker and Pierre Lum made Le Joli Mai, which means the lovely month of May, narrated by Simone Signoret. And this is a truly fascinating, strange, unusual, quintessentially 60s film that is essentially just looks at Paris during May in 1962, right after the war in Algeria was ended by the ceasefire that was negotiated by de Gaulle, which a lot of people were very bitter about. When I lived in France, you talk to any pieds noirs, which means black feet. Those are all the French Algerians. They were French, but they're born in Algeria, raised in Algeria, felt totally sold out by the whole thing. None of that necessarily is captured here, but it is a really, really interesting time, place, snapshot that takes you back in a fascinating way. And it is a truly novel film. It is a totally unique film. It's a classic film on so many levels, and it's absolutely beautiful. And this should be seen by everybody in its restored form, which is now available, courtesy of Icarus Films. Really, really excellent. And this also includes a bonus disc, which has a whole bunch of great stuff on it, including deleted scenes and little kind of feature-ready documentary shorts. And it's good, really good, and an educational booklet. So with that, Mark, we are done. Again, send us your emails and Vox boxes to gods@digigods.com. Not yet, no. No, we got to get some first. Gods@digigods.com, gods@digigods.com, emails and Vox boxes. Try to make the Vox boxes, tight, not too long, but we want to hear from you again. It's 2014. We have a whole litany of things that you should be upset about, whether it's the Oscars or Woody Allen or, who's going to play
Yes, Wade.
Green Arrow in the Justice League movie. I don't know. You tell me. No. We'll be back next week.